A recent report by the Human Rights Commission has found that we tend to think about ageing as somewhat of a downward trajectory. Older Australians are stereotyped and thought of as feeble, frail and wasting away.
However, the truth is the opposite, with many older Australians becoming increasingly active in social, political and economical life. Emily Mullane is a research fellow with think tank Per Capita and she joins us now. Emily Mullane, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
You've taken some time and looked at the findings of the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
What are the key revelations there?
Well, in particular, the Human Rights Commission had a whole section on media stereotypes of older people. The two key findings that came out of that were that older people are largely invisible in the media. Only 4.7% of advertising content refers to older people, and only about 6.6% of editorial content refers to older people. And then when older people are referred to in the media, it's generally for all the wrong reasons. So words like the ones you just described, feeble, frail.
Can we define older people? What's the cutoff that we're talking
Generally
about?
speaking, older people is 65 and older, and the main reason for that being that the age pension
Kicks in at that age. Yep, okay.
Right, and the older people, I mean, they're obviously very young in their own minds still, are often disillusioned by this treatment, these studies show.
Yeah, definitely. And particularly in the area of employment, we know that older people are struggling, particularly those who are out of the workforce. The vast majority of older people who are discouraged from looking for work, we know from ABS statistics, are because employers consider them to be too old.
Yes, and that's been a key impact of the media stereotyping, hasn't it? That it actually forms those attitudes that then makes it difficult for an older person to get a job, to get housing, to really sort of embark on anything new.
Yep, and as Susan Ryan, the Human Rights Commissioner for Ageing, has said, it has a multiplicity of effects. So it affects younger people and their views of older people. It affects employers, and importantly, it affects how older people see themselves. If you tell someone enough times that they are forgetful, that they are useless, that they are frail, then people start to believe that about themselves.
And it's often younger people making these hiring decisions at firms,
absolutely.
and really not letting older people's CVs get past the first draft.
Yep, particularly when older people are out of the workforce, their ability to get back in, and not even at the 65 and older age bracket, but even as low as 45, it's incredibly hard.
So what needs to change?
Well, I think one of the easiest things that can change readily is media can represent older people in a positive light. And there's no shortage of older people who are making a positive contribution to our society. If you just think of some of the high-profile people like Ita Buttrose, our Australian of the Year, our Governor-General, Quentin Bryce, Rupert Murdoch, Barry Humphries, and also people in our local communities who are doing things like volunteering and making a real contribution.
They certainly believe they've got many contributions to make, and often when you look at some of the older people I know, they're often fitter and more mentally agile than younger people.
And they're doing a whole range of things, from volunteering to welfare groups to lifelong learning. So
and there's also a need, just generally speaking, in the Australian economy for more workers. This is a very resource-rich base, if you like, of workers. They have an extraordinary amount of corporate knowledge and training and the like. If we overlook them, I guess we overlook them at our financial peril.
Absolutely, particularly given the current economic circumstances where we're at the tail end of the mining boom. We're going to need to look for new ways to grow the economy, and older people are both a resource in terms of the supply and the demand side.
And it's time for the media to stop writing bad stories
about
older people being bad behind the wheel
through.
And being cranky at supermarket counters and the like.
Yes,
it happens sometimes, but not all the time.
Exactly. We need to be a bit more accurate in our reporting.
Good to meet you. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks, Emily.